Davis steps under center. Gibson and McClendon behind him. Davis with motion by Richard. Will give the ball to McClendon. He leaps. Oh, he doesn't get in. He fumbled the football. Carolina holds. The game is over. And Carolina has won the game.
Finley to throw. Over the middle, intercepted. Wolford again. Wolford the other way at the 30, the 40. Wolford to midfield. Miles Wolford with the pick. The heels on the doorstep of an enormous victory.
Left side of the line. Hood standing to Williams' right. Williams going to throw. One-on-one. Davis has it. Touchdown. Carolina wins. Carolina is the Coastal Division champion. Bernard fields it at the 26. Heading to the far side. Gio at the 35. Gio is at the 50. No, he's not. Yes, he is. Gio is going to take it for a touchdown. Are you kidding me? Connor Barth for the possible win. Snap, spot, kick away, high enough, long enough. It's good! It's good! Carolina has won the game on a 42-yard field goal by freshman Connor Barth. Good gosh, dirty.
This is the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. Hey guys, and welcome in to another edition of the Heel Tough Blog Podcast. It's Anthony Pagnotta with you guys as always. And today we are joined by Austin Burlage of Power T Tape. He's a guy that goes through, breaks down the University of Tennessee Volunteers on the field. He goes through, does great film breakdowns. And we're having him on today to, of course, talk about the guy that the Tar Heels just landed in the transfer portal in senior running back Ty Chandler. He will be joining the Tar Heels for the 2021 season. The Tar Heels needed a veteran in the backfield, and they definitely got one. And first of all, Austin, before we even talk about that, I know it's been a difficult time with everything that's been going on with COVID-19. This college football season almost didn't even happen in a lot of people's minds. But ultimately it did. But still, how's the family holding up during this time? And how are you doing during this time as well?
Hey, Anthony. Thanks, man. Pleasure to be on with you. I'm doing really well. Family's doing really well. We've been lucky over here. I live in Wisconsin, so a little bit removed from Tennessee, but up here it's been really good. The winter's been really mild, so we haven't been stuck inside too much, and work is going really well for us. I know I'm very sympathetic to what we face as a country here, and I know a lot of people are struggling, so my thoughts are with them, and my wife and I are blessed that we've been able to come through pretty well.
That's great to hear, man. Great to hear. Let's dive into it a little bit here. Ty Chandler ends up committing to Carolina after entering the transfer portal a few weeks ago. Of course, he had a pretty established and strong career with the Tennessee Volunteers. 4 years there, almost 4,000 all-purpose yards in his time there. So I think the main thing first out of the gate that Carolina fans are wondering is when you look at the type of running back that Ty is, do you think that he's a guy that is going to be able to come in and help Carolina for this 1 year where they're looking at him as a guy that's just trying to help them transition what's going to be a young backfield this year towards being able to put up, some decent numbers over the next couple of years?
Yeah, I think you just hit the nail on the head there at the end when you said decent numbers. I mean, I've obviously did a little research on Javonte Williams and Michael Carter, and they put up just stupid numbers, right, last year. I mean, impressive to say the least. So is he going to come in and be a guy that can give you what Javonte gave you and almost 20 TDs last year? I don't know about that. Right. But I really do think that he's just a really solid college starting back, and like you said, comes in with a ton of experience. And one thing that I think is going to really help him, obviously, is running backs coach Robert Gillespie, who is at UNC right now, was his primary recruiter at Tennessee before he came over. So obviously, really established relationship with Coach G, and I know he's excited to get back to work with him over there. So he'll be comfortable as far in terms of who he's being coached by. And I think the scheme at Tennessee is I would say probably a lot harder to learn and pick up than the one that Coach Longo runs over at UNC. Coach Longo is pretty big on, making it simple, playing fast. To steal a Coach Urban Meyer word, like equating numbers, right? Getting guys in space to make plays. And I think that's going to let him shine a lot more than he did in the offense at Tennessee. And we can get into the specifics of that.
Yeah, so when you look at him as a running back, what are the most attractive qualities about his running style? What can Carolina fans maybe expect to see from him when he's carrying the football?
Yeah, well, the first thing that I would point out in 4 years, zero fumbles lost. So you got a guy that's he's going to take care of the ball for you, and the ball is the number one thing especially as a guy that's going to be a redshirt senior. It would surprise me if he turned it over, and the more possessions you can have for your team, right, the better. So
right.
I would say a guy that takes care of the ball. Number two, Tennessee played in a lot. It's not strictly zone heavy, but a lot of inside-outside zone runs. So he has a lot of experience being a zone running back, and when I say that, I mean more of like a one-cut guy. Very skilled at, hey, I'm going to see the opening, I'm going to hit it. At 5'11", 205, he's a little bit smaller than Williams that you guys had last year, so he's not a dude that's going to probably run some people over. That's actually one thing that Coach Pruitt at Tennessee harped on quite a bit, which is, I wish our backs would fall forward a little bit more. But he's a guy that, hey, if you get him in space, he can make one cut, he'll make you miss. He also carries that skill set over into the return game, so he returned punts and kicks for some time. So that is probably the things that sticks out to me the most from him as a runner, is just his one cut ability. He doesn't have I wouldn't say that he has breakaway speed, but definitely good enough speed to get away when he needs to. And but probably his best skill set, in my opinion, is in the pass game. He is a really good receiver. In his career, I think he only has 4 drops and he has 59 receptions on 74 targets, and he only has 4 drops. And I think some of that you can attribute to Tennessee's quarterback play is probably a lot below what you guys have in Sam Howell. So I love him as a receiver. I've been on my Twitter, I've been pounding him as, hey, man, I really wish Tennessee would use him more in the slot. And I know in what Longo likes to do with the more air raid spread style, a lot more motion, so there's more opportunities for him to be coming in motion on jet sweep style plays and swing screens to the flat that I think are going to put him in space, and I think he's really dangerous in space.
Yeah, I think you're right about that. One of the things that I really liked about him, watching him on film, I first of all thought he looked comparable enough to Michael Carter where Carolina fans can be excited when he gets to the edge. He can turn the corner very quickly, as you mentioned. That's what you would expect also from a guy that is a kick returner. And I thought his back vision was just fantastic. I mean, he can see the field about as well as any running back that I've seen on film in a while. And that's something that's really key and is something that you're going to get when you get veteran running backs, because when you look at some of these guys, their high school tapes, everything like that, they don't really see the field all that well. They pick one lane, they run with it. Usually they stick with the lane that the play is designed to go through, too. Chandler's a guy that's been there, done that, so he's a little more experienced. So I think that'll definitely help Carolina in the backfield. And then I like what you said about him being a receiver out of the backfield. I think that was one of the things, if you go back and watch the bowl game as compared to some of the other games that Carolina played throughout the year, where their running backs really shined, you just didn't see that ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. And I think, look, Carolina's got a really good receiving core. They've got a good tight end in Garrett Walston, who's coming back next year and can continue to improve. But when this offense is working at its best, you have those safety valve running back dump-offs that you can go to. Now, one of the other things that I wonder about Chandler, because this is another big concern, was a big concern coming into the bowl game and probably still is in a lot of people's minds, do you think that he has the ability to pass protect? Was that something that you guys saw at Tennessee? Because Carolina, that was one of the things that I think was most underrated about what Michael Carter and Javonte Williams did. Do you think he'll be able to hold up in pass protection if they sort of need him in that role?
Yeah, I'm very intrigued to see what happens, and I would say that that's probably the area that he can improve the most in would be his pass protection.
Mm-hmm.
But I do have, I think, some reasons why he struggled in that versus, why at Carolina he might be a lot better at that. But pass protecting is at the college level can be difficult. And Tennessee's offense with Tim Chaney, there's a lot of protection schemes, and they're all, they can be difficult to pick up, and he's only been in the system for 2 years. And so that's another thing that I would say about Ty. I mean, he's gone through 2 different head coaches and 3 different offensive coordinators in his time at Tennessee. So on the one hand, difficult maybe to grasp all of those different protection schemes. On the other hand, he has been able to pick them all up. And so it should be no problem jumping into the Carolina offense. So he probably, I would say, struggles in pass protection. I would say PFF, Pro Football Focus, their grades can be useful sometimes, and he typically graded lower in that. But some of that is the protection itself, mastering the scheme. I think some of that, too, is his size, at 5'11", 205, I think I said, a little bit smaller guy, and he's playing against SEC defenses too. So, I don't want to come on and be the SEC guy that bashes the ACC, okay? Because I love Carolina, I love the ACC, but I think it's easy to bring up film and be, he really struggled in pass protect when he's playing Alabama and Georgia and Florida, back to back to back. So, and Texas A&M at the end and all that. So, I think a byproduct of going to UNC is going to be maybe not, I know Clemson obviously, but maybe not quite that stout of a defense. And then 2, just being in the UNC system more spread out, you're not going to face as stout of a rush because you have so many more options. Like you said, the receiving core is so strong at UNC, and Howell, obviously a great quarterback, can get the ball out. Tennessee didn't have that as much, and Garantano wasn't a quarterback that made you nervous. So it was easy to say, hey, we're gonna blitz heavy, and we're gonna make the backs pick us up, and we don't think the quarterback can get the ball out. But he's probably not, I would think, going to see as much pressure because of the way that Carolina operates. So I would be optimistic about his ability to block. I know I'm rambling on it a little bit here, but obviously I would say that's the worst part of his game right now. But I think there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic that that's not going to be as big of a concern within the scheme that he's going to be playing against, because he has the physical tools.
Right, and he's going to be playing behind a veteran offensive line. That's another thing. Carolina is not losing anybody on the offensive line. This is a group that's going to have been together for 2 full years by the end of next season. And you got to think also, Sim Richards is the only guy that was a new starter this year. So a lot of these guys will have been together for 3 years as starters. So that should definitely help Chandler out. And look, anybody that's listening to this podcast, if you think that the SEC is clearly not a prestigious conference above the ACC right now in terms of just complete conference, outlook, I don't really know what to tell you. You just reel it off. There is no time during the year that you are going to face teams as the same caliber of Alabama, Georgia, and Florida consecutively. And the other thing, that I put when I was writing the article about him is that I think that, when you look at the SEC, even if you don't have teams that are putting up, ridiculous stats, even if they aren't winning a ton of games, they're very, very physical no matter who it is in the SEC. The ACC, you have some physical teams, but there are some teams that they try to beat you with the new age philosophy of style and speed, where the SEC is just, it's a different mindset out there. It's bring your jockstrap. You've got to play every single week. The only thing that I would ask you here before we let you go with him, I noticed that he was kind of passed over on the depth chart this year. Is that something that Carolina fans should maybe be a little concerned about, or do you think that was just maybe that there was a guy that could be, a little bit better than him, or that just fit the scheme a little bit better? What do you think in terms of the concern around that?
Yeah, I would not be concerned if I were a Carolina fan about that. I think Tennessee is extremely high on Eric Gray, who they had behind him and was pushing him. Gray gives a little bit more wiggle in the run game, where I think Tennessee was looking for a little bit more of those explosive runs. So yeah, his yards or his attempts this year were a little bit down compared to the 2 years prior. And the rest of his stats, obviously, because he wasn't getting as many opportunities to carry the ball. But yeah, I would not be worried about that. I think Eric Gray is a special guy. I think if he was maybe in a better situation, I hope he doesn't leave. Obviously, Tennessee's got 18 guys in the transfer portal, so I hope he's one that doesn't enter it, and we can get it right over on our end, and he starts to kind of shine on a national level. But yeah, he was just getting pushed by a really good player. And the other thing that I would say is Gray was really he struggled in pass protection too. So it wasn't. There were times where I think they were just trying their options and seeing, hey, well, maybe this will work or maybe this will work, and going from there. But yeah, I wouldn't be too concerned about it at all if I were a Tar Heel fan. I know you guys are losing a couple studs in the backfield, and he's going to step right in and be a senior leader. Obviously losing your two leading rushers from last year, there's going to be space for a guy like Chandler to step in, and I think with his experience, 4 years of college experience, he's going to carry a lot of weight, and by all accounts, he's a great teammate.
I think we lost him there, unfortunately. Let's see if we can try to get him back here just really quickly. But great stuff there. Great stuff there from him. Really encouraged about what Ty Chandler can possibly bring to the table for the Tar Heels this season. Again, he's a guy that will come in, if anything, should be a veteran leader in the backfield for the Tar Heels as they try to as they try to make the transition from a group that really that really did a great job this past year.
Hey, Anthony.
Hey, man.
Did I drop you?
Yeah, no, I don't know what happened there, but I think I don't know if there was anything else that you were really trying to get in there, thanks for coming on with us. I think you gave some really encouraging stuff. I think a lot of people are going to be really encouraged by what they heard tonight, and I think in general, a lot of Tar Heel fans were really, really excited about this pickup, and everything that we're hearing from everyone around Tennessee and you as well definitely has people feeling pretty confident about what he can bring. So, hey man, look, I am a guy that I think when Tennessee is good, it's good for college football. I am hoping for your sake and all the volunteer fans' sake, they can get this back on track at some point, man. So best of luck going forward, man. Tell the people where they can check your stuff out, though. Maybe if they have family members that are big Tennessee fans, or even if they are just people that want to check out some good film breakdown, where they can check your stuff out on social media.
Yeah, well, first of all, I appreciate it. We're trying over here to get it right. And, so I'm right now. I'm just on Twitter. My ad is Power T Tape, so that's Power_T_tape. And that's where you can find a lot of my stuff. I got some things in the works for the fall, potentially branching out there, but we'll see. And yeah, like if I can ever do anything for you and for Tar Heel Nation, reach out, let me know. I love UNC, and I'd be happy to help you guys out. So let me know.
Hey, man, yeah, we really appreciate it. Thanks for working around the schedule with us, everything like that. And I know you're also a high school defensive back coach, so best of luck to your guys on the field whenever you guys get back out there. And hopefully that'll be somewhat soon. With COVID-19, you never really know what's the outlook's going to be. Unfortunately, got to take it just one day at a time. But hey, thanks for stopping by with us, man. We really, really appreciate it. And best of luck going forward. Stay safe with everything that's going on. And we'll talk to you sometime soon. All right, man?
Sounds good. Thanks. You too.
All right. Austin Burlage of Power T Tape. Thank him for stopping by with us, giving us a little bit on Ty Chandler. Of course, you guys can head over to the website, HeelToughBlog.com. There's an article up there where we break down Ty Chandler's game a little bit, but we wanted to get that perspective from somebody that watched him week in and week out, broke down the tape on him and his teammates even, and he does a great job. I watched some of his breakdowns on the team in general, and he does a fantastic job. So that was really great having him on. Hope you guys really enjoyed that. We have had a pretty good amount of interviews here. During this season, it was really, really tough. I'm not going to lie. With everything that was going on with COVID-19, with everything that was going on the field with the Tar Heels, even in season, we just know that it's tough. It's tough to get guests on because everybody's really busting hump, working really hard. We were doing some stuff, for the company that I work for as well. So I wasn't able to get as many guests on as I wanted to during the season. So we're going to try to make up for that here in the offseason. We're going to try to get a bunch of these guys on. And then, of course, the other thing is we didn't even really do it in the preseason. So we're going to have a bunch of guys on that we normally have on sometimes in the preseason. They're going to come on here with us to recap this season as well. One of the guys that has already done that, Bill Bender of the Sporting News, has stopped by with us already. So you guys can go back, check that out. That's the last edition of the podcast, 216. You can go back to 215 as well. That's another really interesting one. That's where we handed out our awards for the 2020 season for the Tar Heels. Some really interesting awards on there. A really fun edition of the show. It was an hour long, so a little bit longer than the last few that we've done, but it was definitely a lot of fun. Me and Josh hand out our awards for the 2020 season, as well as got the fan vote, so you guys can go and check that out as well. Also on the website, going back to that, a couple other really interesting articles up there. Of course, Harris Barton, former Tar Heel offensive tackle, just got inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame. There's an article up there about that. Also tied on to that, there is an article about who could be the next Tar Heel to go into the Hall of Fame, which will get them to the 10-player plateau, a prestigious plateau when it comes to College Football Hall of Famers. We, go through, give you a look at 4 names that we think could be hearing their name get inducted here in the near future, or should at least be put on the ballot. So that was a really interesting article. You guys can go and check that out. And then, of course, plenty of stuff still from the 2020 season. You can go back, read the final grades. There are, just a lot of great, grades that we put up there for the offensive side of the football. Of course, there was some disagreement on the offensive line grades, so you guys can go back, read through that, tell me what you think of it, and then, we'll see going forward next year where some of the areas that the Tar Heels can improve on, what are some of the areas that the Tar Heels will have some high expectations to live up to after this year. And then, of course, I did mention this on the last podcast as well. You can check out the stock report following the game against Texas A&M, the stock report from the bowl game. That's going to be relevant throughout the entire offseason because you're going to have guys that are going to be coming off of their first career starts in which they played pretty well. A couple other guys that are coming back next year that will be coming off of one of their best games, if not their best game of the season. So a lot of really, really great stuff for you guys to check out on the website, HeelToughBlog.com, and that doesn't even count the fact that we got great basketball coverage with the Tar Heel basketball team rolling into form, and we've got baseball coverage that'll be coming up in the spring. When it comes to the podcast, the best way to make sure that you are locked into every edition of the podcast is on Facebook. Make sure you like and follow the Facebook page. That will allow you to get a notification whenever we are premiering a new video, which is how we are doing the podcast now. We're still doing it on all of those podcast platforms, but we're also doing it video-wise. It's a little bit easier to access probably for a lot of people. So, of course, we don't care which way you do it, but we feel like that's probably the easiest way for you. And when you do that, when you like and follow the Facebook page, it also gets all those articles on your timeline for you so you can see them whenever we post them. That's why we suggest going that way. If you are a listener to the podcast, make sure you rate, review, and subscribe to the podcast. Rating and reviewing moves us up some of those rankings when people search Tar Heel Podcast, North Carolina Tar Heels Podcast, anything like that. They will see us on there, and they will, if they haven't already, subscribe to the podcast or just tune in and listen. That's ultimately what we're looking for, is to try to get some of those new people that haven't found us just yet to be able to find us, hear all this great content, all this great stuff that we've been doing. doing. And then finally, we, of course, want to encourage you to subscribe if you're on any of those sites, whether it's Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Spreaker, any of those websites. Make sure that you subscribe to the podcast so that whenever we put a new edition of the podcast out, the minute it drops, it's right in your podcast library so that you can listen. One of the big ones coming up, guys, tomorrow. Jones Angel, the voice of the Tar Heels, is going to be with us. You don't want to miss that one. So make sure you hit that subscribe button so that the minute that one is live, you can listen to me and Jones talk about the 2020 season and maybe even take a little bit of a look towards 2021. So once again, I want to thank Austin Burlage for stopping by with us. I want to thank you guys for listening and watching. And as always, go Tar Heels!